when you have a heat wave.
And it's not me, because I was thinking it was me and my phone yesterday. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, people breaks in the tropics, forms of tropics like
No, since yesterday.
Red Joy, heat waves in the southeast.
Offline
That's
about some
causing
Yeah, but no, I wasn't.
he was definitely coming to us.
Yeah, he said he's going to make notes. He's looking up the document.
There it is. I don't know. I mean,
Yes, you can. Yes. Josh, can you do that?
yeah. Yeah. Cheers.
No, the
I don't know.
document.
That's compound.
It's mine. I'm always buying earrings. I'm like, I don't need
It's a T, but it's a bit albino.
all kinds of everything, all kinds of
It's not infused.
We're radiating.
It's not infused. Yeah. I have to take it.
So, good afternoon, everyone. So we probably will continue some of the discussion we've been through this morning about this TC model evaluations. But I think in this discussion, we probably more focus on the historic period. So let's have a baby step. Let's look at the historic period for the TC climatology, do some very basic model evaluation. So some people come up with this very good idea. So we call it the TCMIP. So because we have different sources of TC crack data from different research groups, from different methods. So the Tropicana is it's the best opportunity to do something collaboratively. So we think this is a very good international collaboration effort to do some systematic evaluation about the TC climatology.
I just have one concern that if we call it TCMIP, people might think we are looking at more weather, like models that actually simulate tropical cyclones, like on weather time scales, like the one using operationally and stuff.
I mean, like maybe saying they're normally looking at the climate time scale rather than the weather scale.
TC assets or something.
Yeah, because MIP also is a.
Yeah, when they're comparing.
Yeah.
We're not comparing the TCs, we're comparing the models, but
Yeah.
we're assessing the TCs.
So what was your suggestion?
Well, on TC assess or whatever, something.
TC comparison. So that way you can maybe.
TC diagnostics, that's basically what it is, yeah?
No.
There is MCS.
Yeah, there's so many MIPs, but isn't like MCS and MIP don't have to be official part of the MIPs or?
MCS MIP, it's not like the traditional MIP, it's a tracking intercomparison.
No, I'm just wondering if we use the MIP, it's just then like the CMIP has like all the ones that they're official part of MIP and stuff like that.
It's sort of a myth, but you don't have to, you don't have to get anyone's approval.
I think
But it's just that it's not clear that that's quite.
But there's other kind of like the cloud made and also some overhead, sea level made. What I mean, that's it's a focus on climate scale, definitely time scale. So,
It's just like we assume that has related with CMIP 6 or CMIP 7 or something like that, and this is not real. Yeah, so and I think by having the MIP there implies for people that don't know about it that somehow related to the CMIP 6 or CMIP 7 or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But MIPS also makes people think it's a internet big collaboration and everything. So
Yeah, it's got intercomparison initiative.
To me, MIP implies we're running models, which we're not, right?
Yeah.
What about tropical cyclones? Intercomparison? Is it?
TCIP.
TCIP, yeah, it could be. Yeah. So,
Is everyone happy with TCIP?
I like it. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. So you have access to the document, right?
I'm writing minutes in my OneNote.
No, you cannot do that. Okay.
I do.
Do you want me to do it in the Google Doc?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
It's probably good to have minutes.
Yeah,
as well.
sure.
All right.
Stick with that. How's it going? I started lift on.
So they're happy with this title?
Yeah.
Great.
That's better. Yeah.
Yeah, so is that I'm very happy with the period we're going to focus at this moment, the historic period. We can do the projection in the future, but at the moment, I think we.
What's you mean TC climate?
Well, we
TC
have some.
climatology.
Yeah. Everything. So you have this shopping list later. Yeah. If you can. Yeah. So,
TC track metrics.
absolutely.
It's just a shared screen. Yeah.
Shared screen, yes. So we have this long.
Historical tropical cyclone climatology.
Yeah. So we. I think we can quantify the uncertainty of bias in a long-term mean, and also the internal variability of various TC metrics on different spatial scales. So that's the thing we're going to do, we could do. And at output, we'll inform the research community about the uncertainty bias, with more sophisticated analysis by working together, and also to provide some useful recommendation to a wider application users. I think that's two main objectives.
Effectively, I think we want, a catalog where someone can look at and say, right, how does this model perform historically with TC climatology? Is it appropriate for my use in my basin?
Yeah, but TC climatology can be anything. So we have to be more specific. Like if you look at the track density, for specific region, maybe the synthetic model is better than the high resolution climate models. And if you look at the the landfall TC statistics, maybe global model is better than others. Something I think we should be more specific for.
Yeah,
we dive into this.
Just from Colin's paper,
So I think we can say best. I'm just be very. Whenever you're comparing models, you shouldn't say best, because each model will do better for one variable, for one region or something. You're not here to judge and figure out the best one.
Yeah.
So I had a bunch of stuff. I don't know if people saw on the below the table. I made a list of things that I usually do. I don't think we have to be.
Yeah. So
so it's like there are all these things that we always do: time series, the anomalies, or all these things.
So then can you elaborate more about the points you?
So I just that's how if I'm analyzing a TC in a model, like first I look at counts, and I look at counts by all of them, or hurricane intensity, major hurricane intensity. I look at ACE, which you already have put there, and then I look at their seasonality by basin. I look at their time series by basin and globally. I look at the percentage of contribution of each basin from these variables to the global. I look at the spread of across ensembles, if you have models, of course, distributions, like, if you have El Niño and La Niña of ACE or number by basin or lifetime and all this. Track density, climatology, genesis density, but then you can also do composites, anomaly composites by climate modes, ENSO, AMA, or whatever, that's, for me, like, these are the standard diagnostics that I do. And you put already track patterns there. I used to do a lot of cluster analysis just because that's easy to identify, like the tracks have some bias, obvious bias, like this paper that I have in the CMWF, they have a completely different track pattern that doesn't exist in the world. And you just get automatically just by doing cluster analysis. So like, this is the kind of thing I do. That's why I put that.
Yeah.
It would be good to summarize the inputs needed, because a lot of those things, if you have the set of tracks with pressure, wind and stuff, but then I guess you need time series from the model of those aspects of variability. So yeah, we want to do all of those things, but maybe, I don't know, a separate table or something has what outputs you need from the models in order to go in to this package to be able to do the diagnostics.
Yeah.
And also
maybe there would be
really
cases where we only have partial data and we don't have all the diagnosis on all the sources, but that would be all right.
Yeah, then I do on the, I added some stuff on the table to, like, when you have something for intensity, of course, you want to have a distribution of intensity, but you also want to have the Vmax with scatter plots of Vmax and Pmin and for each of the models and stuff like that. Return curve of landfall in different regions.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't here at the beginning of the discussion, but do you have a common experiment you're proposing to this group, or do you have already made experiments that are the same for all models that you're going to analyze?
We want to use existing data.
Yeah. So I think
Yes, but will it be the same set of the data for all of them?
probably we don't need the same format of data, but we need, so we have the,
Estimate the difficulty of analyzing if you don't have exactly. I've been very involved in another MIP, and the recommendation is to write a very clean and clear protocol on how to run the model.
So, but we are not rerunning models. We are not rerunning models. This is based
You're using already existing
things that most people already have the tracks
at the beginning and say this will be based on.
It's more an opportunity data set.
So we have the US Clivar intercomparison that I was one of the co-leaders some years ago. So there is also a paper of that. We had a bunch of these diagnostics that we did, and we had things like that. I probably can find the documents of the US Clivar.
But the protocol of the data format, I think, is a very good point, because at the moment, different groups and different, they have different types of TC track format, right? I mean, some in NetCDF, some in ASCII, and also even in the ASCII files, they probably will, write down the location and also the intensity in different orders. I think maybe it's time we discuss that. Will you please provide your data in the normalized format? So we are happy with this format, and then that will save a lot of time for the people who are actually running the code and doing this diagnostics.
I'll just say quickly. Well, first of all, a lot of these diagnostics are already, and I know, Leo, you started to look at the CyMIP package, but we already calculate a lot of those. I'm going to make a lobbying for pressure with ACE, because there's a lot of evidence, Phil, Dan, other folks saying pressure is good. And then regarding the data format thing, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. I almost think, we don't obviously want every group just like providing, but like the nice thing about track files is they're pretty lightweight. So as long as they're somewhat self-descriptive, I think it's probably easy for us to just build wrappers that essentially would like translate Malcolm's tracks or Kevin's tracks or something like that, versus going to these people and being like, hey, rewrite your code so it does what we want it to do. Maybe that could be like a potential outcome, is like we should try to write everything like IB tracks or something like that moving forward. But I think the onus kind of falls on us to translate those for this purpose.
One of the points of Hurricane Pi is to be able to take these tracks from different sources and
it will do it under the hood, right? So.
Okay.
Also, I'm happy with saying we want to encourage people to provide their tracks in CSV.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes.
Well, like you said, self-descriptive is a good start as well, because plenty of them aren't by default self-descriptive. Anyone who's used track.
So Hurricane Pi actually can take different formats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why I was.
Yeah.
We do need to implement readers, so we cannot handle an infinity of formats, but the most common ones. So far we have CSV, IB tracks like NetCDF, track like NetCDF, and track ASCII formats.
I haven't pushed it, but I've done
Tempest
Extremes as well.
So there's a range of common file formats that we can, encourage people to use.
But CSV is great because we don't need to write a specific reader for CSV. It's just CSV.
Yeah.
And it's self-descriptive.
Most ideal.
So it's not a big concern for us. It's not.
But you can encourage people to do CSV still. That's good.
Okay.
I wrote CSV format encourage at least self-descriptive.
Okay.
People like imagining
Yeah.
Maybe it's already on there and I missed it, but I think something like number like hurricane days and major hurricane days would be useful metrics.
Yeah.
And also LMI itself doesn't seem to be on there. So the LMI location is there, but not LMI.
Yeah. LMI.
Going to put her. Are we all writing the same?
Actually,
Yeah.
anonymous.
I think I'm the anonymous one.
Yeah, there's a lot of screens. There's a lot of animals there. Yeah. Because Leo and Stella are the person actually driving the analysis, so I think this is the data format is not a big concern at this moment.
Sure, and then
Well, it will still make our lives easier if people do.
Yeah, but we still encourage people to have a more, make their data set in a more common format, so we can.
So I think there are two things here. You're saying Leo and what? I think the idea for me, I was actually fed that Malcolm yesterday. I always have students, and then every time I have a new student, I want them to do all these diagnostics again, genes, so if we have a nice package, so I don't think we should only be thinking in terms of what the analysis, but I think we should also be thinking in terms what we want to have. You know, you already have some variables in your package, but what variables should be there, not only for the analysis of whatever data sets we're going to do now, but in the future. So people like me don't have to tell their student, I have to learn to do all these diagnostics over and over again. With the new student, they just have the package. That's why I gave Stella's package to the student working with Jimmy and me. So I think we have to be a little more open, just not thinking about Leo and Stella doing the analysis. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, they're also very happy if people have their diagnosis and they want to contribute to the package.
I'm happy to, say like, when like, for instance, you're talking about ACE, one things I have done, to deal with low resolution models, instead of doing the standard ACE with the, I do I call modified ACE, and then I take into account the distribution of intensity that the models can actually do, and then use those thresholds, instead of using the observed threshold to calculate ACE as the model threshold. So things like that.
So we are actually building up an open source platform for TC climatology assessment, something like that. Yeah. So anyone can have access to this package, can run their own research, can address their own research questions.
I think that would be great.
Yeah.
So we're looking to merge Collins or implement Collins package, which was designed to do integrated statistics, particularly for tracks into Hurricane Pi.
Yeah.
And then
Through it,
yeah.
So Leah, can you see a little bit what you're doing at this moment about the code?
It's exactly that. I've got Collins code. I ran it. It works. I'm just trying to make it run with. Essentially, I've got a bunch of tracks from Kevin for many data sets. So I was just rewriting a bit so I can do it with Hurricane Pi, and then I can run it through with that. But then the idea is then anyone will just be able to take that, throw their tracks into it, and it'll do what it does for tempest extremes currently, but with any data set.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Shaggy referred to as my bad Python. So that's kind of like the motive. Like, so that was what our original design was to have this be like a very open source, like other people could do it. And we actually even have like a block of code in there that says like, if you're writing a different track format, like this is what you would have to edit. So that's kind of what you're doing now. But I think it makes sense with having people that are very interested in producing clean open source software that this would be a good vehicle for the project.
So we're going to build up a kind of TC ape package, and then and are going to put on GitHub. But the parent code is from Collins codes and your guys Hurricane Pi. But we're going to include more matrix.
Yeah, that's what this is good for. That you fill that table with things that I haven't had. Go.
Okay, great.
What other people can have as well.
doing some more suggestion about this matrix we could potentially include from the.
That's what I put that list. But that's what I didn't want.
You put a long list.
I didn't put in the matrix that I put in the list. That's exactly that.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah, then we touched about this. I mean, what type of data we need. I mean, which variables we need. We need position, when the intensity, mean sea level pressure, or altimeter wind, whenever your model outputs. Another, do we need to define the period we're going to look at? Is from like 1979 or from 1950 onwards? I don't know which period of.
Might be that depending on the sources, if we want to be inclusive, we need to deal with different periods, right? Because I like the next-gen simulations or the cloud resolving simulations will obviously be shorter than this period, and we still want to include them.
So next gen is over the last 30 years.
Yeah, so historical starts in 1990.
Yeah.
We could, instead of specifying actual years, we could specify a minimum number of years or something.
We could put like something preferred period, if we can come up with one of preference, and if that specific simulation that had that, then come up with something else. But I think whatever code you have, you could maybe have options to specify the climatological period or something like that. Number of ensembles, all that, because you want also to spread across ensembles and.
Yeah, so I guess you just go for satellite era by default if you can.
1981, 2020.
20 years onward, maybe.
So 81. 81, I think. I don't know. Just to be 40 years or something. And I think would be important for the different northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere to be the seasonal like the standard, like for if you look at state of the climate. I was just looking yesterday how they do for each season. It's January to March to December is the season northern hemisphere, July to June in the southern hemisphere. That's standard.
Yeah, in Hurricane Python, there's a get season function that does that, and I did it July to June in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah. And I'm going to do composites, for instance. I would suggest ASO for northern hemisphere, JFM for southern hemisphere. I would like anomaly composites and stuff like that.
Yeah. Anomaly. What do you mean by composites in that case?
For instance, if you do El Nino and La Nina composites.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because
that's not really a data request. It's just during the analysis.
There, my list of suggested diagnostics.
So, like when you define your composite analysis code, you probably need to consider in different basins you have different.
I would say that January, February, March is always.
So do we want Chaser or Azer or Azon?
Depends on, that's the thing. If then you're depending on the basin.
I think JFM is better for the southern hemisphere. I don't think we need December.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I usually use. That is not good for the North Indian Ocean at all. So if you, the North Indian Ocean people would have to do pre-monsoon and post-monsoon season. So I don't know how much you want to go into all that. You know, and like if you're doing Western Pacific, I usually July, August, September, October. If you're doing Atlantic, it's August, September, October. So I think, you know, but I think ASO and JFM to start then would be.
So yeah, so for the global scale, I mean from South Hemisphere and North Hemisphere global scale, we need a common season. I think for the specific basins, that should have its own.
But it can do by hemisphere, hemisphere anomalies. That's like the answer anomaly is very comfortable by hemisphere.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of a software design thing, but like, so if that's something we're interested in, we should make sure that when you're coding that up, that's just fairly generic. Exactly. Like, Susanna writes a paper that's like, oh, maybe we should use these months or we can tweak it. Like, it's easy to do. It's not something like we have to rewrite the code for.
Yeah, we would have an option that's the month you want to in, right?
So, because of the North Indian Ocean, I would suggest that the months don't have to be sequential, because you want May, June, and then October, November, December for the North Indian Ocean.
Or maybe you can have separate period in pre and after post monsoon.
Yeah.
Seasons. Yeah.
Fine, not month as well.
Yeah. So many models don't have TCs over there.
So the other thing I will just say about the preferred period is I think that's reasonable to have the preferred period be the historical record. I suspect with both statistically dynamical downscaled models and some climate models, a lot of people also test with like a mean climate run, like they'll run like the 2000 climatology or something.
Yeah.
So I kind of support that. In that case, I just do annual means and look at the statistics, but just, I think there might be some groups that would be interested in doing that and being like, oh, this was our test simulation. So I don't know, just mentioning that.
So you mean a control constant climate?
Yeah.
And control climate.
Can I add a wish list to the diagnostics? What about, we haven't discussed the Malin-Julian oscillation at all in this meeting, I don't think, but there is published studies on how the Malin-Julian oscillation influences TC genesis and different basins. So
then we are now talking about subseasonal time scales. I think everything until now we're talking about monthly fields. Yeah, so I think you of course can be something like that, but then you have to now start at least weekly study.
Here, I mean, we focus on climate time scale. Probably it's not that easy to develop this code for subseasonal. That's very interesting.
I mean, there is a.
I have done that.
Yeah, you have done it, and there is an MJO index, and you can just apply it to the different models. But
Yes. Yeah, but we need the field to extract MJO index from different models, from different members.
Someone has to calculate an MJO.
Yeah, so who can download all the data I've got.
What I was imagining for this is the only model data we actually have is the tracks.
Yeah.
What we would do is then it would have to, if we're looking at forecast data, you would take the MJO index from the initialization and the ENSO from the initialization, which would be fine. But yeah, then going into the model and doing it relative to the model MJO might be harder.
Okay.
But I think it's also maybe up to the people providing the data from these different sources. If they provide the MJO indices, then we can include these in the analysis.
That's on the track,
because the point of putting these sources together is that for many of them, the providers would be here.
Yeah,
I guess I suppose
It
would not be up to the people doing the analysis to go backwards through the field and compute the MJO, but these sources would provide or not these indices, and we would deal with it, right?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Stella. I think if we want, you're either going to need these on the tracks, you're going to need the people who are doing this to generate things like MJO indices, or this is where high-res MIP2 comes in. Like you ask for a specific data block, or a data format, what MJO is like some sort of outgoing long wave radiation or something that would be specific enough that you could calculate that. But I would call these tier 1, or I don't know, not tier 0 that goes beyond the track. So I think we're gonna have the same. I'm sure people will say precipitation, and it's gonna be the same thing with precipitation.
I think there is already a tier 2 in the table. To go back to the table, I think there was something pink that included precipitation.
So we'll sometimes include max precipitation with our tracks, but if you want to do with what Alyssa did, you went and got the preset out of the spatial files, right, for earlier analysis.
Yes, good. So then you're acquiring some sort of standard NetCDF files. It's way more data. And if you want to do a dynamic size calculation, that brings in the wind. which is often output at like different levels, and it can be super complicated if you're trying to like compare things very in a standard. So just fair warning.
It would be a phase for second phase of.
Yeah. That's why I think you want to tier, you want to have like, this is what like all tracks give you, which is like lap, long, pressure, date, like that kind of thing.
Well, but
And then all
maybe we
these
can
are
use
things that we have to like nudge groups to provide us, or like maybe request them as part of like IRS 2 or something.
But you might want to define better the format for the time series of ENSO and stuff. I mean, the tracks the Hurricane Pi can deal with, but you might want a fairly standard .cdf file that has the right time index and the right, otherwise you're going to spend all your time trying to design those time series work with.
I think in all these climate modes should be second tier thing.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. If we want to be all inclusive, the list goes on.
Exactly.
I guess they can also be holes in any way, like in any case, like if we don't have the ability to do one type of diagnostic on one data source, that's a hole in it. And that's
like if you do a control climate with climatological forcing, you're not going to have any of the climate modes anyway.
So because we're here, we're focused on the historic period. I think for these climate indices, many models should be, so these indices for these models should be based on observation.
No, depends if it's a coupled model.
Yeah,
no.
Except coupled models.
Yeah.
So like for the downscaling models and also for the AMAT type models, for the high resolution models, kilometer scale, we're going to have the same like ENSO index, except for the coupled model. But that shouldn't, I think, should be very.
But the downscaling too, if it's downscaling from CMIP 6, right? So you're using the CMIP 6.
Oh, downscaling CMIP 6, yeah.
So we don't downscale only from the analysis, downscaling from climate models.
We don't scale from the climate. You say we don't downscale from.
No, I said we do downscale for climate models. Yeah.
And the reanalysis.
Yeah, and reanalysis. Yeah.
Okay. Right. I think we generally agree that at this moment we're not going to the precipitation related Tropicana, right? So only the track itself.
So, but I think you should put like tier 2, like precipitation, I think should be mentioned there.
Yeah.
Maybe MJ3. Maybe precipitation and MJO tier 3.
Yeah. So if you scroll down, I put.
All right.
I put tier 1 the tracks with their intensity. Tier 2 the variability things, at least long-term variability, and tier 3 precip and maybe wind fields.
Yeah, Jamie was asking for size.
Yeah.
Size.
So that would come from the wind fields or the pressure fields.
That's why I told you that. Thank you.
And the time stat for the precipitation and wind field.
Another few ones.
Hi. Hi.
Daily. 6 hour list fairly.
That's a good point. The tracks. I mean, I was just assuming the tracks will all have the same time step, but that's not necessarily the case, is it? Especially if we're looking at IV tracks. I'll just there's at least 6 hourly, and I'll just ignore everything else.
You can normally that in your Hurricane Pi.
Yeah, I just mean if someone provides tracks with daily information.
Exactly. Yeah. Depends on your model.
Yeah.
The important distinction with precip is if we're gonna request accumulated precip versus like precipitation rate.
Yeah.
Because it's calculated differently. I would say like, yeah, I don't know, different models output different things, but yeah. There's an important distinction there, because if you wanna do an apples to apples comparison across all the different models, hopefully you get accumulated rainfall, and then the user calculates applying the rainfall rate. Versus if the models output the rainfall rate, it may be instantaneous models that rainfall rate, or it might be 6 hourly accumulated rainfall rate. And those are very different.
There are pressure, so the pressure field, I know you get there's different wind field, parametric wind field models, but are there parametric pressure field models? No. I guess you could get it from the wind field if you wanted to. Maybe. Yeah, but
so I put the pressure field there because you can measure size from like the radius of the most piece of ours or things like that. So that if you want to look at size, that's something that might be useful, right?
Yeah. And not necessarily align with each other, like wind and pressure.
Or if you want to verify the wind pressure relationship, not the wind pressure.
I think probably about the track, there's nothing we could include is whether it includes actual tropical transition or not.
Yeah.
Because some models provide this, like Kevin track,
So that's more tracker dependent, I guess.
Yeah, it will depend on the trackers. That's
I think someone put a comment about that in there. Jack and I was saying, we always just compare the same tracker, I guess. So it just depends if the tracker has extra tropical transition.
Yeah, so ET would require extra fields as well to actually identify
where it is.
But how about the Chase and also the MIT models in downscaling model? Do they also run this ETC diagnostics? No,
it doesn't do. It doesn't do ET. Well, the Lin model doesn't do ETC. I don't know.
First model doesn't do ET to dealer. It's a CHIPS model, so this hurricane model, it just does not have actual.
So as far as I know, none of the synthetic models do that.
Well, I think to clarify, I had a conversation with Carrie before. It has halfway, has large scale influence on the stone structure, but not the how the ET system and their interaction is large scale. So it's trap. If there's a trap, if we go to ET, the CHIPS model will fill the trap, but it's not, and there's no feedback to the trap system.
But that Chase model labeled up, is this the ET?
No, I mean, our model don't label. Well, we are creating the label now, but those are through post-processing. It's not when you run the model, you have label.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there could be ways of diagnosing it from things that there's already listed there, right? So if you know the wind field, you could just
I mean, you need a full field. Yeah. So that definitely not.
So I added geopotential in there, in tier 3, because I think.
Maybe the tier Z, it's like you're kicking out of the stadium.
Okay. So let's come into the data sources. So we have best track, we have reanalysis, we have several reanalysis, and large ensembles.
I added that just because I know the tracks exist, so whether we actually want to include them as that.
Can I add a comment? Lens is not TC permitted,
Oh, okay. Scratch lens off.
What is not?
Lens.
I don't know what the default PDF.
That's the Japanese long claim is wrong. So it's 100, I think 100 members.
Yeah, it's email.
Maybe type wrong. Yeah.
And the one Malcolm you mentioned with CSM, that's like 500 euros over 25 kilometers resolution, I'll say.
Yeah, so that the CSM high resolution, so they've done 500 years PI control, and then.
Is that in there?
Yeah, I put it in there.
It's the CSM HR.
CSM HR.
Okay.
Yeah. Another there's high resolution, many different high resolution model rounds, seasonal forecast, downscaling models, even machine learning models. I think there are too many things. I would suggest. So I would suggest have one model in one family of the data source. Like we have best track against one reanalysis, for example, AR5, and then one the high resolution model like the next gem, Cyclone is wrong, whatever, and then take one the seasonal forecast and the one downscaling model, either Chess or MIT model, whatever.
Why only one?
So when we build the code, we just start from one, then I leave opportunity to other to, okay, you can add more. If you want to add more.
The idea is to compare how the different
Like the
models
high-res
are
people
doing
already
it.
have the tracks for like 8 models. Why would we?
Yeah, I don't think that's like.
No, you're saying like one family model, just to get started. Where would you start? How about how we rank these by priority then?
So, and then, Kevin has tracked the CMIP 6 models. If he wants some low resolution model, he has all the a bunch of CMIP 6 models that he has. So if you want to compare this high resolution, more high resolution with low resolution, that's a possibility too. I don't like this idea of just having one model per category. Like our model is different from Jonathan's model is different from Carrie's model. I don't think that's representative. And you look at all these models, they have different. For high-res MIP, they have very different characteristics. So if you just pick one randomly, you can be a wrong impression of that category model.
Yes, I agree with them. In the end, we want to include as many as possible. But when we build the code, maybe we can, if you want to see the results, maybe we start from one.
Yeah.
But building the code will be
incrementally adding more.
For building the codes, what we need to take into account is different track formats. But then it doesn't matter what the model behind the tracks is. So I think we would create a workflow for any kind of track.
Okay.
And then as long as people provide tracks, we can run them into the routine, right?
Yeah, maybe the other way around. We'd provide the routines.
Okay, if you are happy with that.
Susanna, what you were saying
Perfect.
about model.
Yeah, the workflow would just be an example on Hurricane PyDoc.
Takes long enough to run through some of.
Yeah, that's that thing. So when you want to test your code, you can take hours and then maybe
weeks sometimes.
Weeks, yeah. Yeah.
That's just tracks, yeah.
So maybe you can produce some intermediate insight. Right.
Jim Costin's HERSAT ADT data set for
track is also part of
for an objective satellite data set of
like the way he provides it.
data source.
The way I kind of understand it, you lose a bit of accuracy, but you gain modularity.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so
the trends and stuff.
yeah. So I think for something climate related, that would be
have the whole iris method.
I agree.
A couple megabytes and
That data set doesn't rely on trend.
Yeah, so it's like this.
So now we're happy to include as many models as possible. So that not the
These are just global models, right? Not
I don't think it's global. We should call it global, like Ninglin's data is only for North Atlantic. So I think so. Should we call it global model or not?
No, I think it should be. I think it should be flexible enough that it can deal with anything. Yeah, if you just have one basin, if you have dynamic downscaling for one basin, you should be able to compare how the global climate models do in that basin. Yeah, I think someone like Marie Dominique, you would be happy to see how all the other models compare with in the South Indian Ocean, even though you're downscaling, it's not. I don't think we should restrict. I think what's the objective? I think you're thinking in terms of writing a paper, and then you're trying to reduce and having like things. But I thought we were doing something more general, thinking about a project, getting diagnostics easily done and stuff like that. If eventually that can be used for a paper, then it's a different question. If you're going to write a paper, how many reanalyses you should use, how many, I think these are two different objectives. I think we have to figure out what's objective here. Is it the objective to come up with diagnostics that we want to have a package for, and that will be easily done, or is objective to plan a paper for something?
Yeah, so I think you definitely right. We because data guys are people driving develop code, and they are allocated to the Hurricane projects. Not for they paid to develop this code. So yeah. So
yeah, but then you can decide when the point they're going to write a paper. Is telling Leo, they're going to write a paper. Then they have to decide how many reanalyses they're going to use, how many models they're going to use. But I think these are two different objectives. You know, figuring out this flexibility of the software and figuring it out if Stella and Leo are going to write a paper on that.
I guess the idea is general reference for comparing different models.
I will just say from experience, I think Suzanne is right. It's also like it gets a lot more complicated in the other way when you're like, I have a paper and you try to like shoehorn the analysis to fit that rather than just make the analysis super, I mean, you don't know. I mean, there could be 15 papers that come out of something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess the software is just a necessary preliminary part in any case. And then from that can stem different initiatives, right?
Yeah, you guys have it then. I'm happy too.
So when you have this intercomparison, are you suggesting that we wait to publicize that until it goes into a paper, or is it going to be available on some kind of website?
I think that's the developers to divide that. You know, my standard thing is like, usually I make things available after I publish a paper, but you know, I think that's completely up to the people that are developing that, they're leading that. So
the software so far is already online and open source. We can't go back.
Well, but you need to add more.
You can add more and stuff like that. You can just make this version available, and then if you want to add whatever, you just say.
I think how we've been doing it so far is just publishing stuff when we're writing it.
I'm just chucking an IT license on everything. It's all good.
Okay.
You can go for whatever you want. Unless anyone wants to have a more restrictive license, I'm fine with it.
So I shared on Slack the paper we did with the US Level Hurricane Working Group.
Yeah.
That we did similar stuff for a bunch of paper models, which was in 2014 that was published. Was, you know, it's old, but you get a lot of the same diagnostics there.
It's a global study or?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's the same thing, hematology of well, characteristics of some high resolution models in the present climate. It's really high resolution.
Right, good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, there's definitely obviously been papers that have done like this before, like comparisons of tropical cyclones and their characteristics across all different models. And there will continue to be that, and high-res MIP 2, I assume, is one of like the objectives. So, like, I think a paper just doing that is not gonna be super useful in my opinion. I think if like a more useful output of this would be a software package that is really flexible, that you can put in all these different tracks that are maybe in slightly different formats, and then it comes out with all of these different outputs that you guys are listing.
And you can write a paper.
And then
a software package.
Everyone who uses it will cite it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then, like, if that's more standardized, like you create this package that does this really standardized way, like makes nice outputs maybe into NetCDF files. And then
I think that's how I can buy you're describing, right?
That's
what we want.
That's what you want to do. Yeah. So I think that's a really useful output, and I think that'll continue to be used by when these new generations of models, simulations keep coming out.
I agree, but you know, if they also write a paper.
Yeah.
Something specific. I think it's, you know, specifically. I don't think there's a paper. I think, you know, your students doing it, but compared to high resolution model with the synthetic models and stuff like that. That doesn't exist. So that I think that would be something that, you know, they could. I'm already seeing two papers for you here. One, you know, describing the package. The other compared the hurricane models. High resolution model with the syntactic models, things like that.
Maria's trying to say something.
I'm just a little bit, just to clarify, like, I guess I had interpreted as it being an intercomparison of the different trackers.
No.
One consistent model.
No.
Oh, so that's what I thought this was. Sorry.
No.
But if you write the software in a way that's generalizable, you could do that. You could take Malcolm's things and say like, okay, here are all the track storms in high-res MIP, and here are all the tempest extremes, and you could compare and contrast strengths and weaknesses. So that could be like an offshoot.
That's another use.
But I mean, this also stems mostly from my PhD work in which that was.
Stella's written, done some work.
I mean, basically the code that's right now in Hurricane Pi is the code I developed to do my tracker intercomparison paper. So you're supposed to be able to do that already.
Malcolm, I really like in the Iris MIP those circles that you have for.
Yeah.
Can you add that to this? I really like the diagnostic. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't do that.
Yeah, no, it's a kind of a way, kind of graphical way.
Yeah. I don't. There's a name for the diagnostic. That's why I didn't add that here because I don't know the name.
Probably is.
Donut.
Yeah. I will call them Malcolm's donuts.
I was gonna say the Robertson all figure.
Yeah.
And I believe there's a debate on how to
Yes,
pronounce
yes.
it.
Isn't that quite? I really like that figure.
That's okay if I write it like that.
So we're late in Robert's.
There's a British or American way of doing it.
That table where we had LMI and the different.
Same shape.
That's
can you scroll up?
Strongbow screen.
What?
Sorry, scroll up.
Oh, sorry, can you scroll back up to that table? Yeah, variables. Did we have, is there RI as well, like intensification rates?
Oh, no.
There's just so intensity. There's intensity distribution and scatter plot. You can put that RI as well.
Like, because some RI might be useful.
And we did not write translation speed either, right?
No, it's there.
Yeah, but it's not in the list.
So I interpreted intensity distribution as being like
intensity distribution
rather than a spatial distribution.
Yeah, that's why it was impossible to put all in that in the table. That's why I didn't even try.
But yeah.
Yeah, so once once we have the mean level pressure or the temperature one data, you can calculate all this intensity related metrics.
So translation speed is already in Hurricane Pi, and intensification rate is easy.
So how about as a tier 3? Because I know you have already done that, so the heart diagram.
Yeah, so I added geopotential in the tier 3 to be able to compute.
So, but we didn't have explicitly the heart diagram, right?
And have CPS parameters.
So going to the tier 3.
I guess.
Sorry.
When you summarize what they've done?
Yeah. You can choose.
You just need to read Malcolm's paper.
Oh.
Bagel.
Yeah, very young. It was like your retirement bakery plan. Like, you know, you're gonna go to Reading, it's gonna be like Malcolm's Donuts.
On the intensification rates, would it be better to use pressure or wind because the winds are calculated differently?
I think Colin mentioned there's a pressure. So we can look at pressure rapid intensification thing.
So
I think you should still
That's
have.
why I put like I put pace and A so that we can do too. You can also do both for activity. I think all this thing with intensification we can do pressure and wind.
I mean, if we have the code to compute rates in wind, we can compute memory pressure. It's really.
Yeah. So is that going to be like as a function of time within the storm, or is it like the maximum within each storm?
So for translation speed, the function I implemented gives you translation speed in between each point of the track.
So I mean the intensification rate. Like, is the intensification rate going to be like at every 6-hour time? This is the 24-hour intensification rate, or?
I would provide it for every time. So
Okay.
then we can always treat it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The spatial distribution is the thing we'd assess at the end, I guess. Or you're thinking relative to specific times in the storm as well.
No, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't just only one value was given in the storm. Like, but I guess if intensity time series is given, anyone could calculate what they want from that anyway. So
We would need to compute the time series to find the max anyway.
Yeah, I know. I'm more thinking right back towards the end of it, where we start producing all these tables that Colin's got in his paper. What would you put in the table for the intensification rate, or the graphs that you would have at the end to compare? Like intensification rate relative to maximum intensity or something like that, or relative to genesis.
I mean, I would say like the lifetime maximum intensification rate is a good metric itself. Over what, over 24 hours?
Yeah, I mean, you could pick a different period you want, but since I think 24 hours is the most widely used metric, that would be a useful thing.
Right. Sally, we can add for the 50.
I'll put everything.
Yeah, 50 matrix we can include.
It also tells us what people need to be in Hurricane Pi, so I think that's then people can pick.
Yeah, I'm more thinking of the next. I mean, there's Hurricane Pi where you can calculate it all yourself, but there's Collins code where it does it all and puts it into nice tables, which is what we'd actually want people to be doing because they want something.
Model it, they can hear you.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't talking to everyone. I was saying you all want something where you can just press a button and do it, but also there's also Hurricane Pi where you can pick and choose all these diagnostics yourself as well in a standard way.
Yeah, I guess that
So
like the first step would be
packages.
the back end Hurricane Pi, and the second step would be like the front end, some kind of dashboard, whatever thing. And
well, that's 3 steps then. The dashboard. But between that is the thing where you hit run and it calculates everything. Then there's the dashboard.
yeah, that's right. And once again, it doesn't need to be just us two developing Hurricane Pi. I mean, I believe you're happy also to.
Yeah, welcome contributions.
It doesn't need to be just us. Anyone a little bit proficient in Python can help us. We can also guide you through how to commit things and stuff in GitHub and everything.
So are you going to go into the plots as well, or just the calculating these things and automatically have some plots that come out? Or?
So Hurricane Pi does include some plots already. We can also add standard plots. We will not be able to cater for every type of plot.
Course, yeah, but I think it would be nice to have a few standard plots that you get so that you just have an idea of what you're getting, if it's possible.
Do you have plot requests?
Like a track density.
Yeah, I put that.
So
track density, yes, I put all that there. Yeah,
so track densities are already in Hurricane Pi. They might not be the. So I also know that different people compute track density in many different ways.
Exactly.
So right now, what I implemented is the most basic 2D histogram. But we can add more methods, although not an infinity of them. But
yeah, I was gonna say, if you go to our 2021 paper, we output like, I don't remember, you were, because I was saying it's an NCL, so like you wouldn't want to probably use it by default, but track density, like seasonal cycles, like really basic stuff. I think I kind of agree, like that should just come out like by default. But obviously you can't support every potential niche use case. But we found that's really useful also for debugging. Like if you do it and like your track density is all zeros, you're like, uh-oh.
So are you planning to set up a new GitHub which will link Hurricane Pi and whatever else already?
Yeah, so I see
and
it
then tell everyone, and then they can take a fork of that and do stuff, and then suggest things that you want to pull back. Is that the idea?
Yeah, well, so there's Hurricane Pi, which is like the framework it's written in, and the second one is Collins. Colin has got a GitHub for this SciMap, so that's what I've forked that, and I'm writing it now, so it works with Hurricane Pi.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think probably the easiest thing to do is kind of pull pieces, like have it live. If you guys are committed to Hurricane Pi, let that live, and you can kind of pull pieces. I mean, the other option would be to have it be like some of my stuff be an external, but that might be more of an organizational challenge than anything. But you know, you guys are kind of the software leaders of this initiative, so I'll let you decide what you like to do.
So you wanted to pull to call from SciMap or to include SciMap functions into Hurricane Pi?
A bit of both. So there's Hurricane Pi, which is like a Python library where it does all these functions, and then there's SciMap, which is where you run all these things and it produces a load of data and a load of plots for you to look at and go, how is my...
No, you want both things separate.
They're two separate things, yeah. So one is SciMap.
What is the advantage of being separate?
Well, because one is a Python library, so you want to think of that as like, if you want to customize what you're doing, that's Hurricane Pi. If you want to just run something and see what your model is doing, that's SciMap.
So mine's very push button. Like you like get a track file, you like tell the code like 4 things about the track file, you press enter and it gives you all the statistics for it.
But it's easier to have like two things rather than one,
Yeah.
and if the environment gets subtly different between the two, then it's more complex. Is that not gonna, put people off if
it's just fitness. Also, CyMap will install Hurricane Pi by. I'll make it so one installs the other. That's fine.
So can we have some of this kind of demonstrations later this year? And for example, in the Hurricane project meeting.
I'll try.
Yeah, we can, or you put it online somewhere, and so all the us can visualize. Okay, we can give a demonstration about this new package and look at the functionality.
There are already some demonstrations on the documentation.
So, but I think also it would be nice, I think we did a lot of thinking about the software development, but I think we have talked a lot about being a comparison about the different synthetic models, the high-risk MIP model, and I think maybe we can start thinking about that too. If you start, then narrowing down what kind of things we want to do with that. If you guys want to get them, as you're going developing that, start also thinking about writing a paper, doing this kind of thing. So that's another. If you want to do these things in parallel, not like wait to have the whole package to develop and then start thinking about.
I've got a bunch of tracks that Kevin's tracked for sitting on Jasmine that I know I want to run this on. So it's not like I'm just doing this for the sake of it.
No. I mean
I've
like
got things in mind that I'm going to use this for. Yeah.
No, but I think the things we discussed here, Tropicana.
Yeah.
Which is like comparing the high resolution models and the different synthetic models.
And that is what we're calling TCMIP.
Yeah.
So that's always what we thought initially. We were thinking about the paper. Actually, we're thinking about compare different models and see. Which model is better than other? Something.
Not better.
In certain conditions. Performance of each model.
If I put in a model that just spits out zeros, can you at least say one of the models is better than that?
But yeah, I think at least what I was thinking about TCMIP in the first place was to take these data sources, plug them in that software once we have it. And I think one interesting thing to come out of it would be a comparison of different types of, say, TC generators, whether they are dynamical, statistical, and try to reflect upon what tool is relevant for which questions. But personally, that's what I would be most interested in.
So I think if you want to lead something like that, I think you should start thinking about what would you need from each group in order to do that. For instance, the synthetic tracks, there are a lot of tracks. So if you want to only do a paper like that, let's say about the Atlantic and not globally or whatever, if you start thinking about the paper, then you can start thinking about it. Like you were saying that you don't want everything for everything. I think like the software should be able to deal with everything. If you guys want now think about the paper, maybe, should maybe have a focus of what type of things you want to do. Because you can't compare everything about everything for every single data set.
I already saw how difficult that was for one model.
Colin has a paper comparing different reanalyses, and Hero has another paper comparing different reanalyses. So there are already, Malcolm has his paper comparing the high-risk MIP model. So I have to think about, how you would come up with something that would be different from what already exists.
I think the point here would be to gather these. So what can we learn from reanalysis only? What can we learn using the high-risk MIP models? What do we need TC permitting models for?
So, but I think then
because obviously we don't want to do again a comparison of high-risk MIP models. I think
exactly. There's no point in this.
Okay, great. Are there some very important people want to say before we close this discussion? Oh, great. So I hope this guy can give us some updates sometimes, some year. Maybe later this year.
I mean, Hurricane Pi, we will obviously develop quite. We were already developing it, so it's a work in progress that's going to go on. I don't know if we have any way to. We don't have a user community yet.
We're going to be the user.
Yeah.
About how to announce them.
Now it's you then, your first user.
So far, we did not build anything to deal with the user community and communicating with them. Maybe we should think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
You can put issues on the GitHub and we can deal with them at least.
We can discuss on the GitHub.
And you have our emails anyway.
We can help you to find the bugs. I mean, that's, yeah.
Like if you launch a different version, you can have that community be like, oh, latest version just released.
Yeah, I think that, and I guess at some point if that works well, we might not be able to handle all the, like everything via email also. Yeah, we can try and think about how to deal with that later. Yeah. Not much here.
And one thing will be like sample size. So your high resolution models, you have a certain number of tracks, but the synthetic models can generate many more. So when you're going to compare them, you have to think carefully how you're going to deal with that. And
we'll keep you updated on Hurricane Pi in any case.
For helping with software stuff, do you want like a team that can help you? Or like design people stuff?
What do you mean?
Not there yet?
Possibly. I don't think so. Yeah.
No, yeah, just a thought.
It's still quite small, really. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be happy to give feedback and plots and things like that.
Yeah, like so that you can leverage the humans around you.
Yeah, I think how you can help is level 1, test the package and give us feedback.
Yeah.
Level 2, send us pieces of code you'd like to see implemented for us to implement. And level 3, implement your own pieces of code yourselves in the package.
Oh, yeah.
And we can also help you if you want to contribute to.
Sorry, I thought you meant we were like hiring people or something like that.
Oh, no.
Yes, then that would be great.
But we're more than happy if people want to jump in and contribute.
Yeah.
It really does not need to be just us.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I guess I'm raising that, like maybe tag people or something, or I don't know, just like I'm very unlikely to jump in and start adding stuff, but if it's on my to-do list, I'll do it, or eventually.
Yeah, like I'm not going to code, but if you want to say, okay, this is like, have a first version, this is the standard output, what do you think? I'm happy to give feedback, things like that, you know.
Yeah, maybe if there was like, if you guys had like a list of functions that you're working on or that you still like need help with or that you need to add, or maybe ones that need testing, that if like you're trying to generate help from other people, I think maybe some sort of list like that.
Yeah, for AI too, one of the AI institutes, has say there was a package and they got a group of us to be the testers. So we would apply it to data sets and then we identified a bunch of bugs and were able to make things more generalizable that way.
I'm good at finding
good idea.
I don't know if I can fix them, but I can find them.
I think one of our points when we came in was also to find a community of people to test the package. And yeah, we're more than happy.
I'm definitely going to test.
So, for example, Pierluigi installed it and gave us a little bit of feedback. Your student gave us feedback.
I just installed it and ran it on my Aquaplanet and on my tracks from the Aquaplanet, and it worked.
Nice.
Maybe, yes.
Okay.
So I think at the end of the document, there's a bunch of references, but they're all from the Princeton model.
Yeah, so that was nearly added yesterday afternoon.
So do you want us to give, I don't know, you know, I was just like, why is this that or whatever?
So one reason because she mentioned the access to the data is on the paper. So we need to click the paper and then find the exact data. But I think now we already got a decent size of data we can play around at this moment.
I don't have
data
from these downscaling models. I don't have data.
I have the CHAS and MIT ERA 5 data to start with from the other paper, and I will need to read them anyway soon, so I will need to implement that.
But again, if you want to add your, so if you're also welcome to add more reference on this. So because we can trace back, which paper we're going to look if you want to know the details about the model. Yeah, it's still useful. All right. Should we close this discussion? All right, thanks everyone.
I was like, what is
Have a link?
Yeah,
It's a model evaluation.
I don't know if someone had it.
Oh, is that?
I think it's on my laptop like that.
Oh yeah, it's one.
He mentioned, but I don't know.
Trying to put my name.
Okay.
Hey, sorry, there's a way to create my
And then you click it. Should be choose.
Thank you. Yeah, it's on this.
Yesterday I was seeing Jimmy like that with
Suzanne said you mentioned that. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we can play the blinds. I opened them because it was cloudy, so there was not much light.
Yes,
The last day.
But you would want. I should have that.
Are there options to customize with this?
So it's not like by now.
Yes.
I can make things on very size as a way variable on
So basically, the D object is an X-array. If you have your preferred, you can just do D.
That's right, yeah.
So I
That's because of
did a function that does it like in a nice way if you want to do like a quick one.
Yeah.
You have your preferred way.
Yeah,
in that rule there.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
That's why
I
she said she has chance data, and I'm like, took me a second. I'm like, oh, and now
me took me 5 minutes. I still don't know what it was.
now you know. So different kind of diagnostics now. We are going to power through.
That says that it works.
Well, for